a beat. Richmond, Virginia. Love, my dog. Yes, sir. Let's go. I agree. Hopefully the man that coined the phrase fake news is not giving out fake news, right? Peace in the Middle East, man. Let's go. Most definitely rooting for that. Jason, what's up? Appreciate you tapping in this early evening, Monday evening. David Velasquez, what up? What up, my dog? Lux, what's cracking, homie? I'm getting my dialysis done and head down south, Mr. Yes, sir. David, let me know, man. We'll most definitely link up, get dinner, all that good stuff, man. Dinner on me. Be very happy to see your family, man. Your beautiful family, brother. Shout out to Julio. Casey picks out
and irons.
Yes.
Lucky's outfits.
You know, for a long time, man, I say it from time to time, but I had a problem saying outfit because I always felt like outfit was somewhat of a terminology that women use, girls use, or kids use. And to hear an old man, a grown person, a grown dude talking about, I'm picking out my outfit for tonight, I'm just like, bro, I don't know. I mean, there was just other phrases like, you know, oh damn, look at the homie, look at that get up right there. I mean, there's just way more ways to say it a whole lot cooler in my mind. But hey, if it's an outfit to you, then hey.
It's a fit now.
Fit. I like the fit. Yeah, the fit too. Fit check. I mean, I don't like the sock check. I think that's corny as shit, bro. Because there's dudes that will get you with no socks on. I think Francisco knows that too, man. These motherfuckers are dangerous, man. Rest easy, Ken Flores, man. One of the greatest comics to ever do it, man. Young, rising star. Unfortunately, health, you know what I mean? He met his demise with just bad health, man, unfortunately, you know? We gotta get our health up, man. Casey, my boy. It's game time, right?
It's game time.
Let's go. Welcome to Hood Stocks once again. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We got an educational one for you. Yes, sir. Raider Lap, what's cracking, my G? Everybody tapping in, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Lazy Lokes, J-Bird, Benjamin Marquez, Hard Living Life, Ramiro Lopez, I got something to say, man. I got something to say. I got a story to share before I introduce our great guest this evening. And I have this shot right here of some whiskey that somebody brought the other day. We got a dude that drops us off bottles sometimes. Sometimes bottles falls off the back of his truck and they end up here at Hoodstocks, man. Shouts to that dude, bro. And so I'm just gonna have this one shot. But the reason why I'm gonna have this one shot is because it's been a funky day, but it's been a great day. You know, we truly blessed. I'm here and I'm breathing and I'm all in one tact and my family is good, right? I'm super grateful, you know. Saturday, I work Saturday, and when I'm on the 605 freeway, I was working in Long Beach, working at Long Beach University, ground up buildings, the kids some new housing, right? You know, for the students. Anyway, so I worked this Saturday, and when I was on the 605, the time that I got off around, 3:30 p.m., we got to start at 7 a.m., because of the where we're on the campus, bro. So, and then it's next to living quarters of the kids, and you can't have construction workers at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning fucking running jackhammers and all that other stuff because you got to respect their sleep. You got to, so we have to start at 7, and anyone in construction hates a 7 o'clock start time. So that's why I'm getting off at 3:30 or whatever. And so I'm on the 605, and bro, I saw about 3-4 fender benders, and this is just in basically like traffic. Like people are still hitting each other in traffic, and I was just like, I was driving like with both hands on because I don't want nobody hitting my vehicle because I love my vehicle. I got my vehicle I'm not gonna say what type of vehicle it is, but I just got my vehicle at the beginning of this year. I traded in, I sold one truck, I traded in the car, got this vehicle, and I absolutely love my ride that I got right now. And so I'm just like, man, these motherfuckers can't drive worth shit. I got my head on a swivel, 605 freeway. Today I get off a little early because I had a doctor's appointment. And I'm happy to be off for a bunch of reasons. I had to stop by the homie Vic shop out there in Santa Fe Springs. So I get off, I'm on Downey. I'm on Studebaker Road in Florence. Studebaker, Florence, right? Studebaker, Florence, and Downey, okay? I'm on the right lane. Both of the right lanes are turning lanes, that you have to turn right, Like the lane actually has the arrow that you got to turn right. So when there's a green light, and keep in mind, it's a T street, right? So there's not any oncoming traffic from the other side, So when you make a right on a green, if there's nobody in the crossing walks, you just, you coast on through and you make your right carefully, And instinctively, what we do is when we make that right, we glance to the left. Make sure, we ain't got Casey out there running wild in that Tesla running red lights, And so this car's in front of me, bro, and she makes the right. I see her make the right. So what I do is I'm coming right behind her to make my right as well. And instinctively, I look left. And as soon as I look left, bro, pop, she fucking stopped, bro. She stopped already turning, but stopped to do what I did, I think, bro. Well, she said she stopped to look, make sure nobody was coming. But girl, you already turning. Why would you stop there? And so sometimes what we do is we like, okay, so if you're gonna stop any place, you'd stop before the crosswalk, right?
Yeah.
And then look.
Not in the middle of the
bro, she stopped like this, dog. She stopped, turned already, bro. She stopped, turned already, and I fucking smacked her, bro.
No.
I rear-ended her, dog.
No, for real?
I rear-ended her, and so anytime anybody rear-ends somebody, whose fault is it?
The person that rear-ended.
Exactly, bro. So I'm fucking furious, dog. I'm fucking furious because let's be real about this. The way I'm explaining it to you, like to me, I feel like I have justification of saying that it really isn't my fault. Why would we turning? It's a lane that you have to turn right. We have a green. We don't have oncoming traffic. We don't have to worry about if someone's making the left from the other side, right? Just go. And so she did exactly what I did, but the difference of what she did is she was already there making the turn, and then she decided to stop to just double check. and I smack her. So I swear to God. So I see her, I turn and shit. So I go like this, and then bam, right away, bro, smack her.
Damn,
You know,
I'm sorry, bro.
dent my fender, dent her fucking bumper. We pull over to the side, and you know, sometimes, bro, unfortunately, I'm not the calmest person, bro. I get off and I'm pissed. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed because I know it's my fault, but in my mind, it's her fault.
Yeah, it was a dumb action on her end.
Yeah, it's like you just like abruptly stopped when I looked, bro. She turning. You know what I mean? Okay, bam, because I'm turning too. And as soon as I couldn't even get back, and she was stopped, and it was just like boom, smacked her. Okay, so you can say, lucky you were too close to her. But in traffic in Los Angeles, we always too close to each other. And I'm telling you, in a split second, that shit happened. So we pull off to the side. And she's like, I was just gonna get my driver's license. You know, I was gonna get my driver's license renewed. And anyways, I was just like, I was fucking pissed, bro. But I wasn't like tripping on her because she's a woman. I'm tripping on just the situation. It could have been a man right there, you know. And I'm just like, why you stop? She goes, because I was checking to see if anyone comes. I said, I said, you're in a turning lane and you already had turned. Why would you stop like that? And so here we go, both trying to argument who's at fault, you know? And I'm pissed because I know I'm still at fault because I rear-ended her. But in my mind, I'm not at fault. It's your fucking fault, and you put me in this situation right here.
Because your car was stolen that day and you weren't driving.
So she tells me, first thing she tells us, she spews out saying that I was gonna get my license renewed today. So she's driving on a expired license, right? Who knows? Maybe suspended license. Who knows what it is? And then she says, "Can you calm down? I'm shaking right now, you know." And I said, I don't know. I think when she said that, I walked away because I went and got a picture of the lane that has a turning and just the streets, the T. You feel me? Because I'm already thinking like I'm already in a lawyer mode in a sense, you know. I gotta build my case right here. I know I rear-ended her, but damn, you know what I mean? She's in the wrong. You know what? There were some paisas right there, man. And I swear to God, I was gonna hit them up for a statement, but I was like, man, these dudes are probably paranoid already with ice all over the place. I mean, I don't know if they're illegal or not, but I'm just saying, you know, like that, you know. Anyways, but that all crossed my mind, and that might be a fucked up way to think about it or say it in regards to the guys working on the side of the road, bro. But it is what it is in the city, right? And so I didn't even decide to get them involved in nothing. You know, they're behind the fence and they were all looking and shit, you know? But I should have got a statement from one of them. I should have got a statement. But anyways, that's why I got this little baby. And it's only going to be one. I'm only going to take a little sip. Oh, fuck, that's horrible.
Was that
That's that whiskey that's over there. I don't know what the fuck that is, bro.
was it like 18 barrel or something?
Yeah, I don't know what do you drink, bro?
No.
Good for you,
Yeah.
bro. Yeah, good for you. Hey, all right, let's get main screen right here, Casey, my boy. Today's guest, I want everybody to give it up for Francisco. Francisco, how do you pronounce your last name one more time, sir?
My last name is pronounced Villarruel.
Okay. Sometimes I have a hard time rolling the R's. I don't speak Spanish fluently. I'm half Mexican, half Jew, and sometimes my Jew side don't let me be half Mexican, bro. You know what I mean? Or it stops me from being half Mexican and saying certain words. So I apologize without, you know what I mean?
So it doesn't let your tongue pay double for the letter?
Sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it'll be like that, if that makes any sense. Brother, I appreciate you reaching out, man. And welcome home. You're out from 17 years straight.
Yes, sir.
You don't look like you just got out from 17 years straight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, I just turned 40 not too long ago.
Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I got granted parole at the age of 34. So I'm going on 6 years of freedom this August. Yeah.
Beautiful. And so did you go in as a juvenile?
Yes, 17 years old.
17 years old,
Yes.
man. That's crazy, man. Yeah. You lost a lot of time, man.
Yeah, there's some definitely valuable time lost, teenager, young adulthood, and some of my adulthood as well. But since I've been out, been trying to make the best of it and trying to recapture those years that I lost,
Absolutely. And you have plenty of time ahead of you, and it seems like you have been making strides, amazing strides in your life, brother. Who knows, maybe you would have never accomplished those things. You never know how it would have played out without, I don't know, bro. The silver lining I always look are, some things are meant to be, put people through these trials, tribulations to meet their, ultimate, individual.
Yeah, I definitely, sometimes I reflect on that, and I think maybe things would not have turned out the way they did, but at the same time too, maybe they would have. You know?
Yeah, you never know, bro.
There could have been people introduced in my life that definitely I seen as a mentor, and definitely pushed me and propelled me into the same direction. It probably could have been a lot earlier, but who knows? Maybe I would have felt deeper into everything, and not be here at all, right? So yeah.
I don't know who I would have been without the things that I went through. And I went through some grimy, horrible decisions in life, man. And it's made the person that I am now. And for the better or the worse, I'm here, and I think I'm doing some good things within this community. Yeah. And one of them is having you on this show, bro. Or having a platform to have you on this show.
You're definitely doing a lot of good things in this world. You're bringing this community together, and it reaches far and wide. And it's a privilege for me to be here and kind of be here as a guest and just welcomed by everybody here.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Shout out to the homie Johnny. Johnny's in the casa, baby. He was just on the podcast the other day and shit. So we need to get a cam, a sofa cam, Casey. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's cool to just... Yeah, absolutely. So I heard you talking to Johnny, man, and sometimes I don't ever like to talk about or start getting the person started on their story before a podcast. I always like to keep it fresh. But you said something. You were telling Johnny a little bit about yourself. You guys were going back and forth conversation, and you said you were a freeway baby.
Yes.
And I've heard all kinds of different babies. You know what I mean? Everybody's a baby of this, that, and the other. Or a little. But explain to the audience, bro, what you were saying.
So, what I was saying when he was asking me where did I grow up and things like that, I was like, hey, I didn't grow up too far from where we're at right now. And then when we weren't able to pay for rent, we jumped on the freeway, we moved somewhere else. And same thing over there. Once we weren't able to pay rent, we moved another place, and we just kept doing that over and over again to the point where it was just like, I was a freeway baby. We once we couldn't afford something, we jumped on either that 605 or that 10, and we made a new place our home, and then we kind of took it from there. It was really hard to gain roots anywhere when you live like that, So, yeah.
And it's your app, and especially, well, you were the kid. Now I have kids, and I bounced all over the place as a child, bro. You know what I mean? But I now my kids were in a certain location, certain area, and I don't necessarily want to be in that area, and I think about moving to, sometimes as you grow financially, you grow as a man, which I put in the work, and I've been growing. Now I'm like, I have a little more options. Like, babe, we can live over here. But my kids are like, hell no, I got my friends right here, And so I haven't made any moves of relocating from where I'm at, because you move from one place to another, and now this is better for the family, But then you put in the work, and now you got options to move to another spot that could be, better for me, but it's not necessarily better for the kids. So like you said, to grow roots, man, memories, you're always the new kid on the block.
Always the new kid. But I can tell you, since I've been out, I've made my own family, I've made my own community, different organizations that sort of embraced me since I've been out that helped me on my journey. Definitely didn't do this on my own. There's no way I could have got to where I'm at on my own, not knowing anything as well. But I want to give a shout out to Anti-Recidivism Coalition and Homeboy Industries and Amity Foundation. They were big support and still are, even in many different ways. So yeah,
absolutely. Shout out to Homeboys Industry, man. We got the homegirl coming from Homeboys Industry tomorrow. Snaps.
Wow. Oh wow.
Yeah. It's going to be a domestic violence podcast, which she's a woman now, right? And all her life has been domestic violence from street dudes, people that don't look like me are people that look like me, right? You know what I mean? Anyways, it's going to be a great podcast. But a shout out to Homeboys Industry again. And yeah, man, fuck. We connected. You reached out. We jumped on a phone call. And I said, all right, yeah, let's go. This is a smart motherfucker right here, baby. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get some fools that just got a head full of rocks. And I got a head full of some of them things too, dog. So if I got a head full of rocks, you got a head full of rocks, bro. We're just going to fucking, you know what I mean? It's going to be, what do they call it, Casey?
A rock band.
Rock band. We form a rock band. Yeah. So they call it sometimes like, man, I can't get that time back. Sometimes I look at the comments, bro, and they I can't. That was brain dead
or brain rot.
Brain rot, yeah. And sometimes it's brain rot, bro. But we're having a good time. But tonight is not going to be brain rot. Pull out your papers and pads, man. Francisco is. How are you able to take us down this road? You've been through different universities, different degrees. Once again, go ahead, brother. Take it.
So yeah, definitely different educational platforms. I would say the first one was while I was incarcerated. Got my high school diploma there, and then also started working on my AA while I was in Ironwood. When I was granted my freedom, I then finished my AA, got my bachelor's degree at Dominguez Hills. Shout out to the Toros. And then most recently doing my master's at UCLA. Some of the things that I really try to research and study have to do with the Latino community. And, and you could call me biased because I am Latino and I did grow up in the Los Angeles area. And I am affected by a lot of the things that, have happened and continue to happen. So I definitely want to know why, right? That's the thing I love about education. It taught me to critically think, right? Instead of just following what somebody else tells me to do, I question, like, why are you leading me this direction? Right, I want to go with you, but I want to know why am I doing what I'm doing, and education really gave me that ability to do that. So when I reached out to Lucky, one of the things I mentioned was I really want to talk about the systemic issues that been happening in the United States, right? Specifically with the Latino community. And just a quick, I brought some notes because I don't want to lead anybody in misdirecting anybody. So you can definitely look up everything that I put together here. You can research it, you can find it on your own, and then you can definitely be like, you know what, maybe there's some validity to this. So I'm going to give you the quick definition from Cambridge College of what a systemic issue is. A systemic issue is a problem that affects an entire system.
This is your camera right here, bro.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
A systemic issue is a problem that affects an entire system rather than just in isolated parts or individuals within that system. It's a problem rooted in the structure, organization, or policies of the system itself, rather than being caused by individual error or isolated incidents. So what that's saying is, it's not just happening to one or two people or 100 people. It's happening to millions of people that are Latinos. So because that these issues are happening on a large scale, it means it's a systemic issue. Right? And what does that entail for us? So there's social and economic disparities, right? It's hard for us to climb a ladder. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Latinos were one of the hardest workers in the United States. We sweat, we have tears, we bleed for working, right? That's what we do. But yet we still haven't moved up that ladder. We stay in that same position. Why is that if we're one of the hardest, if not the hardest working people in the United States? So that's something to ask yourself, right? So to understand how these systemic issues, happen, we're going to take just a brief little history, and then we're going to get to kind of wrap it up into the point I'm trying to make. So we're going to talk about real quickly colonization, right? So, as we know, white Europeans came over here, took over a large portion of the United States, basically wiped out a large portion of Native Americans. Once the United States became the United States, which was like in the late 1700s, they came up with the Naturalization Act. By this time, they already had slaves over here, right? Black individuals. They already, wiped out a lot of the indigenous population. But in the late 1700s, they had the Naturalization Act, where anybody who was white was able to be a citizen. Didn't matter where you came from. If you were white, you were a citizen. Anybody else, you were not a citizen. And then on top of that, you had restrictions of not only not being a citizen, but as whoever they deemed you to be. Those restrictions varied for each person, and I hate to use this word, for each owner, right? And another point I wanted to bring up with that is we also talked about slavery briefly, right? I remember we talked about it, and one thing I mentioned to you was the United States actually racialized slavery. And what that means is they picked a specific minority group or specific group of individuals and like, we're only having these people as slaves, nobody else. When you look at other countries who've had slaves for centuries and thousands, well, however long, right? They look like the people that lived there. So once they were freed, it was like they just were quickly embraced by everybody there. It was just like if it never happened, right? I'm sure they have issues they had to deal with. But when you look at when it's racialized and they're like, oh, you're free, everybody knew at one time or another you were a slave, right? And they were treated differently, right? So I just wanted to kind of throw that in the air of like how this United States was brought to be, right? So you can see there's a superiority complex that's starting to occur, right? Like we have to be on top. There has to be an order. And then that pecking order we're talking about, right? And why the Latinos are towards the bottom, we have the whites on top, right? So we move a little bit further. There's a lot of immigration acts that happened in between the late 1700s to the late 1800s, and some of it had to do with the Chinese Immigration Act. And the Chinese were definitely oppressed as well. I'm not going to get too deep into that. They definitely they went through a lot, and so did the Pacific Islanders. But I'm going to jump ahead to when Mexico had lost a lot of the land that they had. And it's called the Treaty of Hidalgo. And a lot of individuals say, well, you know, Mexico, they paid $15 million. I mean, they got $15 million and they sold their states. Was it that easy? Was it that easy where they're like, hey, you know what? We don't need this land. I'm just going to write it, you know, give me a check for $15 million and you guys can have it. No, there was a war that occurred. So Texas, at one time or another, claimed their own independence, and they became the Republic Independence of Texas. During that time, the United States then took it upon themselves to absorb Texas. Mexico then declared that an act of war, and it became the Mexican-American War. What then happened was America then stormed the capital of Mexico City. The capital city did fall, and Hidalgo did sign over the rest of the like 50 something or over 50% of Mexico to the United States. So there's something called manifest destiny, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
And what that says, it was the United States was meant to have the rest of this land, right? Because of their ambition. It was like fate. If almost like God was guiding them to have all of this.
And they even had the silhouette of the female, right? Like she was like a saint almost or something like that, leading the way, right? Yeah.
So we look at it as well. You think of all the Mexicanos that are already living in those states, right? And some of them were absorbed and, you know, became citizens. I can tell you, I have family from New Mexico. My mother is originally from New Mexico. Her whole family, generations from New Mexico. And I can tell you that her whole life, they've told her she needs to go back, right? Since she was a child. She was born in the 1950s. And they told her, you need to go back. And she told me, she's like, where am I going to go? My great-great-grandmother's from New Mexico.
Yeah.
And so, and I got a little bit off topic, but I brought that up to say that, you know, the type of racism that was going on, specifically towards Latinos. So then, after, you know, the United States absorbed the rest of the Southwest was like California, Colorado, Utah, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. They still allowed a lot of Mexicanos to come and, you know, pick crops within their farming system. As time went on, I'm going to kind of jump forward a little bit too. They created something called the Bracero program, which allowed millions of Mexicanos to come into the United States and help the farming industry grow as they, basically cheap labor. And they let them stay here for years. So you're talking like almost like a 20-year span of millions of individuals living here. And then at the last moment, they're like, you know what? You guys need to go back, right? So they started rounding people up and taking people by the hundreds of thousands, and people that were even born here, right? They weren't born in Mexico. There was I think I read a study where it was nearly half were born here in the United States, and they deported them. So the reason why I brought that up, and I know I kind of bounced around a little bit, but it's to show you that this has been happening for over a century. The way that they've been treating Latinos here in the United States has been a long-going issue, and it hasn't stopped. And if I were to guess right now, I don't like to guess, but I'm just going to give you some thoughts. If you look at the population of California of Latinos right now, we're 40% of the population here. In the country, we're about 16.9%. And we're growing rapidly. In addition to that, though we still have low numbers for higher education, that number continues to double as the years go forward, of people getting higher education and getting into these certain positions like government officials, lawyers, doctors, judges, politicians.
Marco Rubio.
And it's kind of interesting how we're going in a certain direction, and in my mind I'm like, oh, are we going to move up the ladder on this hierarchy? And then boom, deportation, right? Mass incarceration. So here's another not a fun fact, but out of the 40% of population, remember, 40% of us are in California, Latinos. 46% of 2024, 46% are incarcerated that are Latino in California.
Yeah.
That's a large number, and that number's growing. The interesting thing about that is a couple laws that passed. And, some people may or may not agree with it, but you have a Prop 36, which was for theft and drug use. You have enhancements that were brought back. You have trying juveniles as adults that came back. And I know that some things, probably shouldn't go without being punished. But when you think about on a large scale, who's going to be attacked, who's going to be arrested by these laws? Who is going to be affected by it? If we already know 46% of the prison population in California are Latinos, who's going to be affected by these laws? I'm going to say Latinos. And that number is going to grow. So I think that as we move forward as a community, and it really has to do, it was something that a professor from Loyola Law School had told me. I said, why do you think we're voting? Because we started talking about voting. Why do you think people voted for mass incarceration? Why do you think people voted to continue slavery in prison, right? Why do you think people voted for this? I said, do you think it's misinformation? He's like, it's not misinformation. And he's like, I'm gonna say, how can you say that? Right? He said, I try to abolish the death penalty in California for 45 years. His name is Sean Kennedy. I tried to abolish, me and many other legal groups within California, for 45 years. And we broke down the information. We gave it to all of California. We've had these giant conferences, and everybody had everything, but people still voted to keep the death penalty. And I said, well, what do you think it is? People want to be American. And I was like, what do you mean they want to be American? He's like, they're voting the way they think America wants them to vote. America finds a way to appeal to them, and then they sway in that direction. And I really had to sit down and think about that. I was like, is this guy like feeding me some, BS, or is he coming from a place of truth? And this was a white man telling me this.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, I really sat there and thought about it. And I thought about people that, disagree with like movements that I go for. Right. Like I would like to see prison change. I would like to see youths not go to prison at all as well. And I would like to see a big reformation across the United States of how they look at minorities and, where we can go in our lives, right? Instead of pushing us down, bringing us up. And I thought to myself, wow, we really came to a place where there's a word that it's called assimilation. Assimilation says that you completely remove your traditions, your beliefs, and wherever you come from and your values, and you completely adopt another one. And I started thinking about people that you see that are Latinos just like me and you, just like everybody. And they tell other Latinos, you need to go back. If you want to wave that flag, you go back. You go back. You don't belong here, right? And I'm just like, were those the ones that want to be that American, right? And for me, it's heartbreaking. For me, it's very heartbreaking. And though I'm born here, my father's family immigrated over here from Jalisco. It rings to my heart because it doesn't matter if you were not born here or not or born here. These systems of oppression are affecting all of us that are brown skin, right? And it shows no prejudice towards this oppression, right? So yeah, it's just something that I definitely wanted to share. I didn't know if we should talk about mass incarceration.
Yeah. Let's touch on it.
So I was also telling Lucky about something called the prison plantation. So after the Civil War, the North and South made an agreement about incarcerating certain individuals to continue their plantations, right? And with that, they would make up, some very way out laws of like, you can't be walking around past curfew, you can't look at a white woman a certain way, and so on and so forth, right? And for them, it worked. They were able to incarcerate hundreds and thousands of individuals, put them in these plantations, make them work for free. And it was just like reigniting slavery. It just didn't stop. All they did was call it incarceration. Prison already had existed before these prison plantations did. But now it's a prison plantation. And that ideology spread throughout the whole United States to where California has, and California is a progressive state. So that means they try to rehabilitate, they try to like abolish, kids from going into prisons, like all these things. But yet we still have this very large incarceration system, right? Where I think we're second to Texas, right? And Texas is a big, huge number of incarceration. And to be second, that's pretty outlandish, right? So I for me, it's like, if they're not locking us away, they're trying to take us away. And if they're not trying to take us away or lock us away, they want to pay us very low. They don't want to hear us. And it's something I also told Lucky. I don't condone. I don't when there's protesting and people want to like stop things from occurring. Rather it's incarceration, rather it's deportation, rather it's, for prejudices, racism. We talked about people rioting and violence and smashing things. I'm not with that, but I understand why it happens. And I can give you an example of why these things happen. So picture being a child and feeling neglected, nobody's listening to you, right? What do? Right? You're going to have a good amount of kids who have that type of parenting where they're being neglected and never being listened to, where they start to act out, they start to be delinquent, and they start to do bad things, right? So it's not any different from not being heard, right? You're not listening to us, right? And I'm not agreeing with what they're doing, but I'm saying I'm giving an understanding of why they're doing it, right? Then there's another aspect to it. What about children who are being mistreated by their parents? Maybe even hit, maybe punished for nothing, right? Some of those children lash out back at their family for it, right? They get older, they get a little bit stronger. They're like, I'm not gonna take this no more from you. I'm gonna hit you back, right? So then you could kind of understand why when you're just being squeezed really hard, oppressed down, and expected just to take it without nobody listening to you, people pop. And I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes you have to be loud. Sometimes you have to make noise to be heard. And I'm just like, that's why they're doing it, right? And it's like, all we want is to be heard, right? We want to be heard. We want to be treated as equal. And if it was one thing I would like to get across to, no matter how much we try at this very moment, there is some individuals, I'm not going to say all, there are some individuals, and I know personally, I've worked with, I've seen, who want diversity, who want equality, and they come in different shapes and colors, right? White, black, brown, every color you can think of. But then you have those who have some of that 1900s to 1960 Jim Crow, I hate everybody unless you look a certain color. Those are the ones that are primarily that push us down instead of bringing us up. And it's like, how as a community, how can we break through that, right? How can we move forward, right?
That's always my question.
It's
we know the problem. What's the solution?
I wish there was a one clear answer, but I would say this. And I'm sure everybody's heard this before. They say don't vote against your self-interest. And what that means is not only for yourself, but for your community. And sometimes it's going to look a little ugly before it gets better. And I would say, and the reason why I would say that is, can you imagine if Prop 36 didn't pass and there wasn't a mass incarceration right now occurring where they're rounding people up in the thousands, right? We would have a lot of these individuals still on the street, still needing help. But a lot of that funding that went back into prison would have went right back into these facilities. They would have obtained more money that they needed to adequately, help some of these individuals. And that's just one thing, right? That's just one thing out of like thousands of systemic issues going wrong, right? Also, funding for education. I know a lot of individuals don't agree with like how the education system is ran. There definitely could be changes that could be done, but there are certain schools that I have seen that have worked effectively. And what that looked like was they had layers of services within the school. So it wasn't just like teachers, principals, and these like crazy looking security guards. They had everything in that school, from case management to therapists to peer mentors to like everything that a child would need that they probably couldn't find at home. They have it there. And even a food bank. And I'm referring to a middle school.
Yeah.
And a middle school is probably like some of the most important years of a child, right? Because they start to define what their identity is, who they're going to hang out with, what they're going to do. And I think when you cut funding and you had a program that was trying to expand, it just deflated, right? And continues to, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. When it looks like we're about to move up on this hierarchy, whoop, we go right back down, right? So, I thought I was going to go longer than that, but
No, we're just getting started, bro.
Yeah,
We're just getting started with the conversation. You plant the seed, you know what I mean? And now we're gonna, it fertilizes itself. I mean, it grows with conversation and subjects and topics, you know what I mean? And then we can do several things. We can open up the platform to the callers to call in. I mean, well, you know what? Back in the day, and I think we talked a little bit about this too. And you know what? In regards to the systemic racism within American history, they had a sign at one point that said no Negroes, no dogs, and no Mexicans. And that is absolutely wild, bro. And that is a real deal sign that used to be up once upon a time ago in this great country. But we all understand how this country was risen up, you know what I mean? And I think it's across civilization, like there's blood everywhere on the ground, you know what I mean? And with blood and tears and heartache and all that stuff is the way we move forward as humanity, and it's crazy the way that works, but people have to die. People have to get deported. People have to do this, that, and the other for us to learn and move forward. I mean, but necessarily, I might be rambling a little bit, but like, are we always moving in the right direction? Do you think we're always moving in the right direction?
My honest opinion, have you ever heard the term, you're flying a plane while still putting it together? Right?
Yeah.
You're still assembling this plane while it's in flight.
And that's life. That's been you, right?
It's definitely, it works individually. See, right? Because you can deal with the ups and downs. But when you're trying to do that on a large scale, you're going to have millions of people affected by it as opposed to just one or two isolated incidences, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad you brought some of this up because when you were talking, I was thinking of like United States is what? Capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And there's an individual from the professor, associate professor, I believe his name is Bauer or Bowser. He's a professor in economics, right, in the University of Massachusetts. And he wrote an article about the United States and specifically about capitalism. And he said, in order for capitalism to exist and work, there needs to be people on the bottom. And what he means by that is the people that are rich are on top, and they need people who are going to work for low wages, and they have to continue to keep them down in this certain area so that way the people on top can continue to make this money. And when I was reading this article, and if you look him up, I'm actually, before we end, I actually have him quoted in one of these pages. He has like 20 different articles that he's written, peer-reviewed articles. And what I kind of take from that too, and I just want to mention to you, he's not Latino, he's not black, he's not white, he's a different ethnicity. And I found it refreshing to get it from somebody from a different background, a different part of the country, and him looking at it from a lens like, hey, this is what's happening here, right? That's why there's so many people on the bottom. And once you're on the bottom, they don't want you to get to the top. Yeah,
because it's beneficial for them. Just like when I go to, and I'll break it down to to my terms, you know what I mean, or the way I see things sometimes, you know. Sometimes I'm on OfferUp, and I find a great deal. And you know why I found a great deal? Because that person that's giving the great deal has fallen on hard times. You feel me? Casey knows.
Hell yeah, baby! I got search alerts all day.
Who do you think? Why have blacks have been so much of a louder voice than Mexicans throughout history? And a two-part question. Who's had it worse? History says blacks have had it worse, but then you can talk about the annihilation of natives and this, that, and the other, right? What's the word called when you, help me out real quick, Casey?
Genocide.
Genocide, you know what I mean? But why have blacks been so much more vocal than Mexicans throughout the years of oppression?
No, I hear that, right? And
Or have they not?
and here's the thing too. I think we talked about somebody by the name of Whitney Young, and I encourage everybody who's listening to listen to the Power Broker, Whitney Young, and it talks about this young black American man. Well, during that time, he was a young black American man, and he was part of the civil rights movement. Here's the thing. He had a little bit of privilege during his time as opposed to other black Americans during, the 1940s, 1950s. And what I mean by that is he grew up in like this big educational community where it was like completely gated, and it was ran and owned by 3 or 4 white individuals. So nobody was allowed to storm in there. So like other white individuals who were, still enacting the Jim Crow laws where they were lynching and beating individuals, they had no access into this educational community. And because of that, he was able to really take in and learn a lot and communicate with white individuals, right? Which was very difficult, especially during that time when they don't want to hear anything from a person of color, right?
And he was around the time when Martin Luther King was around too, right?
He was around the time when Martin Luther King was around. And they had differences of how they approached, trying to obtain civil rights.
And when you say approach, we're talking about maintaining relationships within the white man.
Maintaining relationship with the white man, but also receiving the rights that they felt that their community deserved. And it did, right? Martin Luther King definitely knew how to talk to the people, right? Talk to the black community.
But a lot of the political leaders back in the day, they were afraid of him, and they really didn't want him within the circles, like the president and so on and so forth. Is a little bit. I watched the what you sent me, bro, so I want to add to it a little bit.
No, you're absolutely right.
So they gravitated towards the man you're talking about,
Whitney Young, correct?
Yes, because he had a different approach.
Correct. So his approach was a little bit different. And I would say this before I kind of get into Whitney Young, because he is a very inspirational individual. So is Martin Luther King, but specifically on Whitney Young. The way he did it was he condoned violence. He's like, we're not with violence here. We're not about yelling. We're not about shouting, but where there's a process of how we get things done, right? And he knew how to speak a certain language to the white Americans of that time, where they were able to gravitate towards him. Like he was able to speak their language, even though he was just speaking English.
It was like the Moses story.
Exactly. And people loved him. And because they loved him, they're like, hey, Whitney, we're willing to do this. We're willing to put this together, right? So we have certain things nowadays. It's called it's for education systems called Jumpstart. They're a big part of Medicaid. Some of the things that we receive in social services that came during the Whitney Young movement. He was the one helping to establish all that, right? And though he didn't agree with some of Martin Luther King's tactics, they still came together and did certain things. So what Martin Luther King can do, Whitney couldn't do, but Whitney could do this over here, but Martin Luther King couldn't do it. And to get together, almost like a tag team, if you think about it, they were able to push themselves up. Unfortunately, with the demise of Martin Luther King, and then not too long, maybe a decade later, Whitney Young had a heart attack. It really stopped a really big movement that they had going, right? And as far as to say, who's had it worse, I think everyone's had it really bad.
When the civil rights movement was going on, where were Mexicans at?
We were here. And we were actually being treated very poorly as well. And just like you mentioned earlier, there was a sign, and we've talked about it, where it said, no dogs, no blacks, and no Mexicans, right? They were treated very poorly. Some of them were actually lynched as well. Some of them were beaten. Some of them were incarcerated for, being out at night. But then some were considered white. I have no idea why some were considered white. I don't know who adopted it, why they adopted it, but they did.
But the target was on the black man's back.
Correct.
You know, and there was I went down the rabbit hole when you sent me that video, and there was a man by the name of Isaac Woodard.
Okay.
Yeah, Isaac Woodard. He was, I think in 1947, he served, I don't know, in the Philippines, something like that. And he was coming back home from 42 months, you know, out on the field, serving his country, out in the war, you know. And he made, he got so much respect overseas from Americans, from his fellow soldiers, for fighting the war, being side by side with these white men, that when he was getting bussed home, he felt like he was good, you know, like he was safe. And on his way home, he had to take a leak. The bus driver didn't want to pull over. The bus driver went to the next city, went and found the sheriff and said, "Hey, this guy's giving me shit on the bus, blah, blah, blah." The sheriff took him out, beat him, fucking gouged both his eyeballs out. His name's Isaac Woodard. You guys can look, Isaac Woodard, Woodard, and gouged his eyes out, blinded the dude. He was the sheriff of the town. We're talking about down south, right? Like, man, those motherfuckers down south, you know what I mean? Shit. You know what I mean? I don't think that wasn't happening in California back then, right? No. You know what I mean? So anyways, it's a great story. I'm bringing it up and I'm telling you guys that like in snippets of the story, but I went down a little bit of rabbit hole and you guys should check that dude out. Very, very inspiring. They did, anyways, the NCAA, they did, to this day, they celebrate that man. And it's just a testament to how bad they were treated. Even if he was decorated with all his stripes, man, all his medals, you know, but when he got back home, he got a taste of reality that shit hasn't changed. And before he can even get home, his eyeballs were gouged out and he was beaten. So it's just a crazy story, man, that this was really happening, and it's been happening forever. I'm not shocked by it. I mean, the genocide with the natives. So, I mean, it's been indoctrinated in the sense of like how white Americans were supposed to be, you know, or what they were, you know. And I'm sure there was a lot of white people that didn't condone that, but you know, you're kind of against the bigger percentage that this is what we do. This is the culture, you know. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but what I want to do is I want to open up phone lines for people to talk to you, bro. You want to talk to people?
For sure.
Yeah, and let's expand on the conversation. Let's everybody have a little powwow. You know what I mean? Open up the phone lines and let's talk a little bit of history and of past and current. But first, I want Casey to get off these ads real quick. We're going to take a quick little break, and then we're going to upload the phone number. And Lucky, you don't care. Fitness Lokester, man. It's this fool right here, man. He been looking for me for a minute, man. Got to watch out for that guy. You know what I mean?
Yo, what up, everywhere? Shockwear is more than streetwear. It's a culture of lifestyle, of individuality, and self-expression through clothes. I want you to go to shockwear.com and use code HOODSTOCKS15. I'm telling you, check it out. They're hitting the hardest. They got the hardest photo shoots right now. Their content going crazy. All right, that's shockwear.com. Use code HOODSTOCKS15. All right. Looking for some good quality cannabis? I mean, killer quality cannabis. Hit up the folks at Killakushcali. They specialize in bringing you everything from OG to exotic. They got it all, baby. All right. So hit them up at killakushcali@gmail.com. I'll tell you this again, killakushcali@gmail.com. Or hit them up at Drip Fits Apparel in the city of Whittier for the latest Killakush and Hood Stocks merch. All right. That's located at 13800 Leffingwell Road, Whittier, California. All right. Let me get this right here. You remember this? Remember this, guys? I had to sleep in the other room because of this.
Did it do anything?
Look at this. Here we are. These are the Blue Magic honey packs. This is what we got right here, all right? Delicious, as you saw me eat in the last podcast. But Royalty Honey, check them out on Instagram at Real Honey Packs, all right? That's at Real Honey Packs. It'll make your dick harder than it's ever been in a while. And if you think you don't need it, it's going to add that extra oomph. It's going to take that, on them special nights you want to go a little harder. Or if you take it on a first date, you know, safe to say you'll be all right. So remember, hit them up on Instagram at Real Honey Packs, all right? Tell them Casey and Lucky sent you. Ali Peptides has all your weight loss needs, including Ozempic, Mounjaro, and their own proprietary pen. And I heard they also have TRT. That comes with a money-back guarantee. Tap in with Ozempic Vince to answer all your questions. His number is 714 626-269-1900. That's Ozempic Vince. All right, guys. We're calling all bakers and chefs. Upgrade your kitchen with Origin Bakery and Restaurant equipment. Top quality ovens, mixers, and more at unbeatable prices. All right, perfect for your next culinary creation. Visit Origin today in the city of South El Monte, or check them out online at Origin Bakery Equipment. The number to call is 626-579-3580. All right. Shout out to D. Leo the jeweler. Call him or text him right now, 323-899-0001. He's showing you guys the art of deal on Instagram via his Meta glasses, and it's pretty cool. So hit him up on Instagram. That's d.leo the jeweler. Right, check it out, man. Buy, sell, trade, or just check out how he runs a jewelry business. It's actually pretty interesting to watch. Shout out to the piping company, plumbing, piping, and service. All right, that's 714-468-2828, or on Instagram it's at the Piping Co. All right, the Piping Company for all your plumbing, piping, or service needs. All right. Shout out to Lux Tattoos. Lux Tattoos, I think, just did some work on Lucky. Lucky, what did he do? What'd you get done, bro?
He just fixed some stuff up on my head.
Some stuff?
Yeah, put it on me real quick, bro. I don't know if you guys can see it. I mean, he fixed some stuff on my head. He kind of fixed the thing I had in the back.
Your mohawk?
Yeah, the mohawk.
Nice.
Yeah, did some things. You know what I mean? Just trying to tighten up the ink that was there already. You know.
Yeah.
You know, damn, who's that? Oh, that's me. Handsome motherfucker said, "Why is Lucky so red?" Nah, bro, that ain't red. I've been out in the sun, bro, working like a Mexican, dog.
Red Mexican.
Nah, that ain't red, bro. That's Aztec gold, homie. That's Aztec gold. Look at that shit right there, bro. You didn't think Aztec gold would come out this Jew, bro? That's Aztec gold, dog. You know what I mean? I'm a real Mexican now, dog. I've been out in the sun with the Mexicans, dog. You know what I mean? And so, you know, it's like this, dog. You know what I mean? Like, we are creatures of our environment. You know what I mean? And if you hang out in that environment, if you hang out in the dirt for long enough, you're gonna start looking like the dirt, dog. You know what I mean? You know, if you hang out in Africa long enough, bro, you're gonna start, looking like Africa, bro. You know, and it is what it is.
Well, let me shout out the last one, all right?
Yeah, please.
Shout out to criminal defense attorney Doug Sherrod, all right? KingKongLawyer.com. That's KingKongLawyer.com. All right, everybody, let's get back.
Let's get back to this. Hey, Casey, can you upload the phone number, sir?
Yes, sir.
You're olive skin. Yes, I have olive skin. Thank you, dog. I've been told that all my life. Lucky, you're like oil of Olay. Oh, shout out to my King Little G shirt right here, man. Showing love to the fellas. You guys like that right there? You know what I mean? It takes a real man to wear another man on a t-shirt, you know? It's not something I've ever done. You never see me in no Tupac t-shirt, bro. Hell no, bro. You see me with King Lil G t-shirt. Look up, most definitely. Is a lot of people, we gonna rock this right now. It's time to open up this phone line, baby. Shout out to my boy Rated R in the chat. Hey, shout out to my boy Ed Cal1, artist of Hood Stocks. Yes, sir, man.
The phone line is up, guys. If you don't know, that's 213-842-4785.
These fools. Lux, where's the picture of your lady you promised me? Did not R. Kelly shirt.
R. Kelly shirt would be crazy.
You're wearing a Miss Lady Pink shirt. No, I'm not, sir. Here we go. Let's get on these phone lines. There you go, baby. Hey, you're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
They hung up.
Yeah, they called and they hung up. It's okay.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe they got through.
Here we go right here. Let's go. Let's get this rocking. Hey, you're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
Hey, Lucky. First of all, shout out, homie. I was all pity the other night, and I saw your podcast where you said that fucking people should go on fucking off-road, dog. I found a fucking hat squat machine, fool. That's worth like fucking $2,000, dog, for like $50, fool. First of all, gracias, Lucky. Thank you. Shout out, Lucky.
You're very welcome, bro. When you find that good of a deal, you know it's stolen.
For real.
They're trying to get it off quick.
I don't give a fuck, dog. No, but anyway, so check this out. So I voted for Trump too, homie, and I heard you mention something the other day, right?
Yes, sir.
So you shouldn't feel like guilty about this shit, bro, because at the end of the day, the Democrats knew who the fuck they were putting up, bro. Had they given us a better option, homie, then things would have been different. We couldn't have 4 more years of Biden, bro.
No.
We could not, bro.
Because Kamala Harris would have been just as worse, I think.
Yeah. And then that dumb fuck the other day, too, that was on your show talking about the restrooms. Bro, so check this out. I was at Target when all this shit was going on, right? My little 5-year-old girl had just gone into the restroom, homie. She had just walked out. I had a strap on me, right? And then this stupid motherfucker walks in, not just like a woman, no feminine features at all, my boy. Then allegedly, and he walks in, bro, and fucking I told my wife, bro, like, do these people realize what position they're putting a motherfucker like me in? You know what I mean? Like, or it was all bad, bro. This country could just not afford to go through another 4 years of that shit, bro. And I'm sorry that this is going on. I don't agree with Trump. That motherfucker's a piece of shit at the end of the day. But, bro, we had to do what was right, and I'm sorry that this shit's going on in there. I feel horrible because my parents came here illegally initially too, you know. But this isn't like the people who voted for Trump's fault. I feel like it has to do a lot with the way that the parties are too, bro. Everybody just wants to be right rather than do the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we're fucking up. There's no empathy. We're fucking up, bro. We're fucking up as a society.
It's like
and it's bad.
I feel like this. Whoever's president, you got to hold them accountable if you voted for him or not. You know what I mean? So every presidency, there's going to be things, if you voted for them or not, that you like and you don't like. You know, so within the communities, you know, you got to be loud and you got to let them know what you like and you let them know what you don't like. You know, and I think it's just simple as that. You know, I mean, I think whoever's in presidency, I mean, there's always gonna, you know, be the yin and the yang. You know, and it is what it is. Whoever's in office, you know. And unfortunately, sometimes it trickles down to the lower side of the community, right? The hard working.
Sorry to interrupt you, brother.
No,
but I think
good.
the sad part is, homie, is that people, homie, would rather their party be right. Man, fuck the parties, homie. We're for the fucking people, bro. These motherfuckers are all lining their pockets at the end of the day, bro.
What president has been for the people?
What's that?
What president has been for the people?
None of them, bro. None of them. Like, let's be real. You know what I mean? And people just run with fucking stereotypes and narratives like dumb fucks, bro. And to me, all these people, they don't even warrant a response online, bro. Because at the end of the day, homie, like, they're not worth my motherfucking energy. You know what I mean? I stopped going on IG. I stopped going on all this shit. It's just poison, bro. At the end of the day, just be a good person every day in, day out, and that's it. That's all we could do, bro. And stop. And look, I put this out there on my Facebook one time to ask my homies, because a lot of them, they're from Texas and shit, so they're going back and forth and shit, right? Yeah. And I said, well, are you guys for America or are you guys for a fucking party? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to call every president out on their bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and defend everything fucking motherfucker does. And I'm not going to agree with everything because I'm not for a party. I'm for America first, believe it or not. You know what I mean?
But it's a party system, so, you know, you can't get, huh?
Well, at least spending your dollar in the right places, like you were saying. Like, if you want to empower the community, you could do it that way as well.
Yeah. Hey, Pinky, by the way, congratulations on your beautiful baby boy, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Benji.
Yeah,
Benji.
But anyway, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but that's
appreciate you, bro.
You know what I mean? You guys have a good one, bro.
You too, bro.
I wanted to add something to just a little bit of the conversation. I would say for anybody who's the president of the United States, they're not going to have it easy. And the reason why I'm saying they're not going to have it easy because the United States is already like messed up in so many different ways. But
it's still the greatest country.
I mean, there's a lot. Well, I can tell you this, right? There is privilege here as opposed to other countries. And what I mean by that is
most privileged.
Like, how many people can get out of prison after serving 17 years, use the resources they can get, end up at UCLA, and then got married, gonna get a really good job. Not a lot of countries can do that. And the reason why I'm saying that, like, we talked about Incarceration Nation Network, woman Dr. Boz, she's the founder of it. She's based out of South Africa, right? And they're trying to abolish juvenile prisons across the world. And so when you look up INN, which is the acronym for Incarceration Nation Network, there's a lot on Nelson Mandela, who served 27 years for protesting, right? Said 27 years in prison. And you think about the hardship that individual had to go for that, right? So I'm just saying that there is some privileges here, but I would say this, I talked a little bit about an individual named Sean Kennedy. He's a law professor at Loyola Law School. And we were talking about, you know, how the law's created, and, you know, when we're talking about criminal law specifically. And one of the things that we were talking about is criminal law wasn't made for us to win. And what I meant by that was not for minorities to win. It was made specifically to keep us down, to keep us locked down, to get us arrested. And the reason why we brought that up is, have you ever noticed when you dealing with a lifer in prison or somebody who has a long-term sentence, they're appealing their case. How many people come back on their appeal when they're directly appealing it through law? It's less than 1% or about 1%, right? In California, right? So that means that the law that they use to lock you up is that same law you're not able to get out, right? So I just find it interesting that they do have certain laws in place. They're not meant for us to win. They're meant for us to lose. And that's why I said it's hard for any president to get up there and do anything, because
he's going to be critiqued and criticized.
Yeah.
You're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
Yo, Lucky. What up, Woodstock?
What's up, my boy? What's your name? Where you calling from, brother?
My name is Eddie, and I'm calling from the city of Norwalk.
Norwalk, stand up. Let's go, baby.
All right. Listen, I've been wanting to say this for a minute, right? I'm speaking from a place of having broke the law before, okay?
Okay.
I broke the law. I had to pay the penalty, right? We know this.
Yes.
I understand that all these people are crying about the immigration taking people back. They came over here illegally. Now it's time to pay the piper, and they're crying because the consequences are here now. When they had enough time to take care of whatever they had to take care of, it's sad and it's unfortunate. However, it's going down. But I'm not speaking from a place of color or race or where I came from. I'm speaking from a place of having broke the law before and having to do the time.
Yeah.
If you can't have the time, then don't do the time. So I don't understand what the big deal is. I just had to get that off my chest.
I think the big deal is this, and it's very simple, bro. The big deal is this. When you look out in the protest, right, on the streets of the people that are protesting, what is the age bracket you see out there? You know what I mean? You see kids out there. You see kids out there. And you see kids out there for a couple different reasons. Because it's a trend and it's something to do, right? And then you see kids out there that are getting directly affected by it because they're first generation, and this entity is coming to take their fucking parents, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that, so we really, and I have to sometimes, because I don't directly, third generation on both sides, I directly don't get hit. So when I voted, I didn't vote for like really tripping on like worrying about La Migra coming through and snatching up any of my family members, because my family already dealt with that back in the day. You feel me? And so we passed that. So we deal with things individually, selfishly, that directly affect us until we see on the news that our neighbors are getting snatched up this and that and the other. And if you're of a Latino descent, then, you know what I mean, you got to feel a certain way of empathy, compassion, so on and so forth. So that's where I had to draw the line in the sand, you know what I mean, and say, hey, you know what? Yes, I voted for Trump because I needed to get away from the woke shit. But what he's doing right now is excessive, you know what I mean? But then Biden had the super open borders. Me and Casey are on the streets with these dudes, filming these dudes. They're like, hey, I don't give a fuck, homie. I'll be back next week, homie. You know what I mean? And this was during the Biden administration. You know what I mean? They had no fucks given. And so it's just, it's kind of like it's a bad setup. It just sucks, bro. It's you know what, bro? It's hard to just it just sucks, dog. That in layman terms, it sucks.
I know that you understand what I'm saying.
I 100% understand. If you break the law, you got to do the time.
Yeah. And when we broke the law, they came harsh on us too.
Exactly. And nobody was protesting for me when I was in prison.
Yeah. Come
on. They said, you broke the law. Lucky was on a sick one, dog. He was fucking too many bitches. One of them was my baby mama. Hey. Fuck that fool. Keep him in prison. You know what I mean? Nobody was outside of the prison or courtroom or in the courtroom protesting to get me out. Fuck no.
Yeah.
No letters, no money.
It was a legal activity, period. Now, on another note, being the president, and just like you're an electrician, you got the podcast going on, you have to make decisions.
I worked
that
hard.
Other people won't. You have to.
I didn't change my life till 38 years old, bro.
Yeah, I know your story. But you have to make decisions based that other people aren't going to understand why you're making those decisions.
But when you have
what it's like.
But when I have a platform, bro, but when I have a platform, I'm sorry for cutting you off, bro. Yes, I got to make those decisions, those personal decisions behind closed doors under my roof. for my family, you know what I mean? But when you have a platform, I gotta be transparent, bro. I gotta be human because I am human, dog. You know what I mean? And it's just, it is what it is, brother. Like a lot of us, a lot of people a lot of Latinos that are first generation, bro, that have immigrant parents voted for Trump, bro. A lot, homie. People that don't even want me to, I would never name drop or nothing like that, but so many first generation that have immigrant, they voted for Trump, bro, because they weren't necessarily, they were thinking maybe like me, though I was thinking like, this fool just gonna fucking start with that wall again, you know what I mean? You know, because all administrations, all presidencies, they campaign on deportation, you know what I mean? Because they feel like the homie was saying that it's the right thing to do to win the American vote. Remember?
And I could talk about that. I was at a photo booth yesterday, and somewhere in the San Gabriel Valley area, and these were like some first generation parents, and they were like, "Hey, fool, why you look like you're dressed like ICE?" And I was like, "Well, you better not voted for Trump." And they were like, and they're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So Lucky just brings that point, like that. Yesterday, I was actually going through that. Like, damn, these fools are like so hard on Trump's dick. Like, yeah, we ride horses and all this shit, and we're about blah blah blah. And then now they're like, oh fuck, mom, don't go outside. And
okay,
yeah.
So look, I voted for Trump too. But listen, none of us know what it's like to be the president in that seat, man. That's a big responsibility to be shot calling for the country. And we can't be armchair quarterbacks sitting here about he's gonna mess up. He's gonna do shit we don't like.
Who's the majority vote? Who's the majority vote in this country? White, right? White. So you're gonna appeal. You're gonna appeal. No, but I'm just saying in general, as a president, you're gonna appeal to white voters. You know, and so they always do it, bro. Barack Obama did it, bro. He campaigned on deportation. Why? Because that was the fucking way to win votes. They all do it. Yeah. Now, what they do after that is, you know, is on them. But what we saw in real time, like nobody can say, bro, that's fake news. Like, nah, dog, I was in the parking lot, homie. They yanked homie out this front windshield. They broke the thing. They took homegirl when she was with their kids, bro. You know what I mean? Like that shit right there, homie, is when my Mexican side or my human side blood started boiling, and I was like, nah, dog, I ain't with that.
And just to kind of, you know, add to a little bit of this conversation, there's something called, and I'm not trying to be, there's definitely due process, right? And everybody deserves their right in front of a judge.
And they haven't been getting that.
They haven't been getting that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up, and I know you said you know committed a crime, you served time. So I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even commit a crime, and I got incarcerated for 17 years.
Did you not snitch?
I'm not getting into that, but yeah, I did 17 years for something. It's crazy, right?
Yes.
But I'm not awarded millions of dollars for 17 years lost, right? And the reason I want to bring something up, right? If you look at the United States, what race has the largest like poverty, right? And when we think of poverty, and we think of ghetto communities, what do we think of? Crime, right? There's going to be crime, but yet they make up not as much a prison population as other minorities, which is kind of interesting, right? It just shows that some people are getting a little bit easier while others are getting it very harsh. And I think that's what makes it more like, not only are you incarcerating us at a very high rate, but now you're taking people without due process.
Let me tell you this, bro. Let me say something real quick, bro. Put the camera on me, Casey. I want to say this. My name is Jeremy Colos, okay?
What's your social security number?
Right, no, check it out. And I feel like Jeremy Colos has worked for me in the court systems, bro. I feel like if I had a different name and then when I go to court, bro, you know what I mean? I do the whole, you know what I mean? Grow the hair out, homie, you know what I mean? I put the comb over, you feel me? I'll be looking like the fucking straight A student in court, you know? Like, you know, that's what we do, right? That's what the homies do. But I believe that I've had leniency on crimes that are charges that I've had put on me because of the complexion of my skin. It's not too dark, bro. My name is Jeremy. Yeah. You feel me? I've had leniency, bro. Then my pops comes in. My pops is a Jew, Russian Jew, bro. He comes in And he always has. I can talk shit about my pops, this and that, but he always go in and he'll talk to the fucking always public defender. He'll even fucking try to cut off the DA. Hey, my name is so and so. Whoop whoop whoop. You know what I mean? You know, and that kind of like has helped me, bro. That's helped me big time, bro.
Yeah.
It's not a black man. It's not a Mexican man.
No.
You know what I mean? It's a Russian Jew. You know what I mean? That is accomplished man. You know what I mean? Because my pops is a chiropractor, even though he's a broke ass chiropractor that lives in the hood, bro. And he had all the clinicas and all that shit, bro. You know what I mean? And he was just doing accident fender benders, like, hey, get in this accident. I got your back. You know what I mean? We'll get the insurance thing. My pops, he ain't doing it no more, so I can say a little bit of this, bro. You know what I mean? He a fucking crook like a motherfucker. But anyways, it's worked in my benefit, bro.
Yeah, well, let me say this. I've been to Orange County jail. I've been to Theo Lacey. I've been to the Maine. Of course, I'm from Allen County, but I've been to the Orange County jail. When you go to the Orange County jail, the majority is white dudes in there. There's hardly any black guys over there. So we can't just say the majority is Mexican or the majority is this, because if you go back east or other states, you know, there's a lot of white dudes in there, and there's a lot of black dudes in there. So we can't necessarily say it's all geared down towards Mexicans, but that's because we're from LA, and that's the majority here.
Well, we're talking about minorities across the board, right?
Yeah,
minorities across the board.
If just to give a little bit more content on that. So specifically in the state of California, at this very moment, it is. Let me double check this real quick.
And Jews were minorities forever, bro. Just to put that out there.
46% of that California prison population is Latino. 46%.
Yeah.
So, and not to say that in certain counties it's going to differ, right? It is. But here's another interesting thing. Once again, Sean Kennedy. I really respect this individual. He's a Loyola professor who's done law for over 45 years in California. He said you can throw, what is it called? A dart at the United States map, and you're going to get very similar incarceration rates for that state, not by county, but for that state of how ethnicities are incarcerated. And the reason why it's going to look even more interesting on specifically white Americans, it's because they're the majority of the United States. And if they're the majority and then they also have the highest poverty rate, technically speaking, they should have the highest prison population. Right, but it doesn't necessarily work out that way. And you know, I wanted to say something, right? Since we're kind of talking about this, and I know you talked about being, you know, you got an offender bender. You know, moving to Westwood was a cultural shock for me, right? You know, I never knew that was West LA. Like for me, West LA ended like MacArthur Park. That for me was like, oh, that's West LA, right? That's West Los, right?
I think that's considered the west side.
Well, come to find out,
because there's the west side and there's West Los, right?
There we go.
Ahead. Yeah.
So there is a lot of Caucasians there, right, and different minority groups too. And I was renting. I have a scooter that takes me to and from my apartment to campus.
Like a scooter?
Electric scooter.
Oh, sick.
And I got hit by a car, right? This dude, you know, I was going up Westwood Boulevard on the bike lane. And I see a car about to pull out of a restaurant curb. I stop and slow down to see if he was going to come out. He doesn't. He looks at me. I drive forward. He punches the gas. He hits me.
On purpose?
On purpose. My scooter gets stuck under his scooter. I roll. I jump up. The scooter hit me in my gut. And I smack my face on the dashboard. I pick up my scooter. He yells at me. It's some white guy yelled at me. And he takes off. Yeah. He takes off, and they had cameras everywhere. The police came because I had to go to the urgent care. This happened in January. Yeah. And this is what the police told me. We'll write him a letter and put it in his mailbox to let him know he did a hit and run.
What?
You know, that I find that kind of interesting, right? That you know, because I've always lived in predominantly Latino communities, right? And sometimes diverse communities of Black and Latino.
Freeway, baby.
So, yeah, freeway, baby. And this is my first time actually living in an area where it's predominantly Caucasian. And for the first time, I got a taste of what high-end Caucasian individuals think of me. And here's another thing. Another recent time, another individual has been trying to hit me with his car on my scooter. And I recently got a GoPro to catch him if he does do it. Yeah. But the thing is, I shouldn't have to be going through that. If I moved over there for higher education, I'm a 40-year-old man, right, who let go of that lifestyle because I want to get my academic career. Why should any of us have to go through that, right? So
you're being hunted by someone in Westwood currently.
Yeah.
It's safe to say that no one in Westwood respects a Mexican on a scooter, bro.
And I can tell you, when they hit me, the saddest thing was not one person asked me if I was okay. I actually had people walk over me like if I was roadkill. A Latino pulled over. He said, "Hey, I witnessed everything. Take my number. I seen it." I took his number down. I got all his information, and he left. He's like, "Oh, the ambulance is coming, whatever." And I was just like, one person came, and it was a Latino.
Damn.
Everybody else walked around me or walked through me. So I'm just letting you know that
it's not their problem, but they push identity politics, huh? It's a crazy
what
game.
It is no
Go
matter
back to the white topias.
What I started to think was, no matter how hard I work, I'm not an equal. And it reminded me about that sign that we were talking about. No blacks allowed, no dogs allowed, no Mexicans allowed.
And that sign still is relevant to this time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Hey, Lucky.
Appreciate you calling. Yes, sir.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Stocks #1 on top, baby. Number one podcast out here. Blue Devils, Eleva, Raton.
All right, Dougie. Hey, you're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
Hey, what's up, Lucky?
What's up, my boy? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Homie, Big Timbo, dog, from Monte, Flores.
There you go, baby. Monte, Flores. Stand the fuck up. Let's go,
yeah,
Dougie.
I just, I wanted to call in, homie, and show some love, homie. Hood Stocks, homie. You guys are always doing your thing, homie. You know what I mean? And I just, I always tap in with you guys, dog. Straight up, homie. And Lucky, hey, dog, you always fucking. I think today, homie, you're on a different level, my boy.
Yeah. Sometimes we sometimes we gotta level up for the guests, bro. You know what I mean?
No, I feel it, dog. But hey, Lucky, you. Hey, homie, I got man love for you, my boy.
Thank you, doggy.
I've been following you for years, dog, since you started, homie. Straight up, dog. And I just want to let you know, homie, I'm showing my love, homie. Straight up, homie.
My dog. Appreciate you, doggy. Much love, dog. Monte, Florida, stand the fuck up, dog. Play with it. Huh?
What's with K9?
K9's gonna be getting out. He maxed out his time. You know what I mean? He got into some. He just maxed his time. He's K9. This is the dog right there. You know what I mean? He go.
Oh, really?
He's in the motherfucking biting motherfuckers. So he maxed his time out, but he will be getting out at the end of this year. And as soon as he gets out, we're gonna go pick him up at the gate, bro. We're gonna shoot a vlog on it. We're bringing him in. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do everything I can to help that man get on his feet.
You guys gotta get the goonies back, my boy. You gotta get the goonies back, my
yes,
boy.
Sir.
You feel me?
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna bring the golden penis pump.
Hey, love you, my boy. Thank you so much, dog.
Hey, I appreciate you, dog. Gracias for answering the phone call, my boy. Sending my love, my boy. Straight up from Monte, homie. Flores all day.
Appreciate you, doggy. Yes, sir. Have a good one. Let's get this next phone call. You're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
Yeah, hello, Lucky.
Yes, sir. What's your name? Where you calling from, my dog?
Hey, what's going on, Lucky? This is Trouble, man.
Oh, Trouble. What's up, bro? How you been, brother?
Man, I've been working, man, just hustling and just trying to stay out of the mix.
Good for you, dog. That's what I do.
I wanna send mine to all you guys over there. And so I want to say that this whole situation that's going on right now, man, I already knew that this country here was racist. Like, I already knew that, but now, I mean, it's embarrassing, if I'm being honest with you, just the way that they're attacking and racially profiling one specific group, right? And for a lot of people that think, well, I was born here, you're thinking the wrong way, man, because you're colored just like everybody else. I'm not going to share who I voted for, but I certainly did not vote for this. But I think a lot of raza, in particular, need to get off their high horse, where they get to thinking like, well, I got nothing to worry about because I was born here. That's far from the truth, man, because I want to share something real quick, but before that, I want to tell the gentleman up there, welcome home. Sorry that you had to go through what you had to go through, but it sounds like you're very educated, and it's a good thing that you're on this platform because Lucky always has a lot of good dudes up here. So look,
I appreciate that.
I was on my way to work, and I stopped by at a Home Depot to get material because I had a big project going on, and so I saw things going on, and I really didn't want to throw myself out there because, you know, I'm at work, dude. I'm just trying to get stuff, and I'm trying to get out of my way. But I started seeing paisanos getting harassed by, you know, just what you guys see on TV, guys that kind of look like they're military, masked up, all that shit. And so I'm sitting there, and a part of me is afraid. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't got to be afraid, dog. Like, you got your real ID. Like, you're good, right? And so I step out, and sure enough, here comes the mob towards me. And I stood my ground. I told them, back the fuck up. I'm not the one. I'm not going to let you take advantage of my rights. I'm an American citizen. What you're doing is not right. It's bullshit. And so, long story short, they didn't fuck with me. They respected the fact that, you know, probably that I spoke English or some bullshit. I'm not really sure. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that my heart's fucking hurting for my kids, man, because I thought we were better than this shit. You know what I mean? I really felt like as Americans, we were better than that shit. But, you know, they're just reminding us really that we're not welcome here, bro. So just because you were born here, and this goes to anybody that feels that type of way, you know, you're just fucking lucky. That's all. You're just fucking lucky that you were born here. Because when it's all said and done, white people, they don't look at you any different than they look at fucking Pedro or Paco or the taco guy. And that is obvious right there at this moment. And I know I'm getting long-winded, man, but this is like a very touchy thing for me because my kids are mixed, right? And, like, what do you tell your kids when they ask you, Dad, like, why don't they want us here? And then their mama's white. And then my own wife has told me on multiple occasions that she's embarrassed of being white because of the way, I guess, her race acts. And so, I don't know, man. I wish there was a solution to all this. I guess what the Home Depot story was just for people to stand up. You know, don't be afraid. If you see them trying to mob up on you, stand your fucking ground. Know your rights. You know, don't. Let's not walk in fear. Let's not. Even if you don't have papers, so what? You're still a human being. And to the homie that called earlier, talking about how he committed a crime and he had to go fucking pay the piper, I get that, bro. Me too. I've been there, right? But there's a difference between people coming over here to this country to better themselves as opposed to, oh, well, shit, you know, I'm American. I know if I break the fucking law, I'm just going to go to prison and get out. Nobody feels sorry for nobody like that, dog, because if you're out there breaking the fucking law, it's because you probably didn't want to fucking work.
That's right, Trouble. Hey, I appreciate you calling, brother. Point made, and keep your head up, brother. All right? Thank you for calling, dog.
All right.
Yeah, the homie right there, you know, he brought up a couple different points, and, you know, I get where he's coming from. I mean, I just don't, you know, I don't like to live with a victim mentality, even though people are getting victimized. Let's get this next phone call, bro. Wait, hold on real quick. Hey, you're on Hood Stocks. Talk to us.
What's cracking, Lucky?
What's up, dog? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Shit, this is Sal from Sacramento.
Sacramento, baby. Let's go. What's up, Sal?
Shit, I was just gonna say, man, it's kind of a phenomenon seeing what's happening with the feds and regular citizens, you know, down across the state right here in Cali. So it's like now we have video, we have cameras, we have video cameras all in our hands, and we can record basically the injustices that these agencies have been running on people for 100 years, longer than that, 120 years. You know, they always take an oath to abide by the Constitution, but once they break that, man, you just get the lawyers up, make sure your shits are in a row, and fucking get that video footage, because once they step over that Constitution, you've got a huge court case. And yeah, it's a lot of work. It's stuff people don't want to go sit through and do. But like, most of the stuff is being recorded. Now the feds, though, I'm pretty sure they're exempt from like what a sheriff department and like a police department's doing, because most police departments and sheriffs got body cams on them. I don't think the feds are doing that. I don't think the feds are doing that. Right?
No, they're not, bro. They're like that.
And they're not. So
they're like that B-2
we gotta
bomber.
keep that video.
Stealth.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And we got to keep those video cameras up, keep recording for our gente when they are breaking the law, because that's essentially what they are doing in some cases.
Video raises awareness, you know?
Yeah, for
real
sure.
time, you know what I mean? You can't say it was, I mean, it's AI.
Yeah,
like, we
right.
know it's AI, it's not. But yeah, for sure, dog. Appreciate you calling, my boy.
Yeah, and they've been doing this to people for hundreds of years. You know, we always had new cops that were the dirty ones taking the dope out to the spot in the other audio up here, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. They're falsifying paperwork so that they can hook them and book them, is what they used to say. And so, you know, it is a new age, and we got to move smart, move militant, and voice for our gente, like right here, like what you're doing, Lucky.
One
you know
at
what
a
I mean?
time.
Open up the platform.
One
That's
at a time, baby.
Lucky, one last thing. I had a student, a youngster in class, and he was showing me a picture of his familia, and his older brother, had a Hoodstock sweater on. I was all, you guys listen to Hoodstocks? My brother loves Hoodstocks. I was like, me too.
That's love, baby. That's love, though. Absolutely. Love for you, brother. Thank you for calling in, dog. You're on Hoodstocks. Talk to us.
Hey, what's up, Lucky? What's up? Shout out to your guest. It's good to have you out here, man. We need more intelligent rappers like you out here pushing the line. But hey, so I'm actually not only calling it to like to grieve and like to express myself. I'm actually calling to provide different types of ideas, organized ideas, to try to make an effort and hopefully kind of like Pac said, hopefully, you know, like maybe spark an idea for those that have resources and more pockets than the next to potentially get involved, you know. But so the some of the ideas that I kind of had, and I highly recommend for anybody that wants to get organized and make a difference, I recommend them check out that the LA based movie that was based on a true story of the '68 walkouts, all the Chicano kids that protested against the mistreatment, like in the schools, like they had the bathrooms locked down and during break and lunch times, and people had to piss in bushes. Like, it was a trip, bro. But and among other things, among the discrimination. But I say, like, in order to keep things a little bit more controlled, a little bit more of a controlled environment, I shared ideas like this like at another platform, but I'd say it'd be better if it's a little bit less people that make more of an impactful difference. Because let's say like right in that room, I'd say there might be like at least like 10 vatos. Let's say 10 vatos call each individual calls 10 homies, maybe 12 homies that are like-minded, like, hey, let's push a line and let's do it as peacefully as possible. That way we don't get our movement shut down, and basically educate ourselves a bit on as much amendments as we can remember. And also, like, if we're going to have any picket signs, make sure that the picket signs don't just say F Trump, but they actually have demands for negotiations and solutions, because that's why they're not going to take nobody serious. And if you want to have some flags, like for representing your side, at least have half of those be U.S. flags. That way it shows like, oh, they're showing interest that they want to be here as well. On top of that, the reason why I mentioned, let's say if there's like 200 people, like among 20 homies that call up other 20 homies that think the same and add up to 200 people. I say that because if you just put it on Facebook, hey, we're all going to meet here at this time on Friday, make sure to be ready. You don't know what type of people you're gonna get. Paid actors, agitators, people that don't want to follow rules, bro. So I think it can be more controlled if you have like at least 200 people that are moving with a purpose, that look serious and militant, like the brown berets, or like how the vatos are dressed up out there, moving with a purpose and have their signs. And not only that, but I'm talking about having speakers, and not just one, because if they remove one speaker, they try to find an excuse to get rid of a guy, arrest a guy, kind of like that enamorado cat. We need multiple people that are educated. Anybody that's involved, we need to have a goal set in mind with a couple of visions in mind. All right, everybody remember this. Don't break these rules. Don't do mamadas because then you're out. Because we need more people that are gonna do kind of like Martin and a couple other vatos did back in the day, push that line. And the reason why I say obviously like more people that can speak articulately and make a point. We can't just be complaining out there because it'll get to a point where, let's say, eventually they want to hear us, and we're not going to have nothing to say. But I didn't think I'd get this far. So
I like your point with the F ICE signs. You know what I mean? Like so many F ICE signs, and you made a valid point in the sense of if people instead of putting F ICE, they put their demands. You know what I mean? And because this is being publicized across the world, you know what I mean? And if they just see a bunch of wild motherfuckers with just F ICE, I mean, it would be so much more impactful with reasonable demands on the sign. So I agree with you on that. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, bro. But yeah, you made some great points.
No, you're good, G. Yeah, like whenever like something pops up, yeah, like tap in. But yeah, like among other ideas, just to try to stay on point. Pretty much like we could also go back with examples of the past of how they mistreated us. Like the gentleman right there that you have as a guest mentioned. There's been several times like in the late 1800s to other times where the census watch.
You know what we got to do, bro? We always focus on how they're treating us, but how are we treating each other, dog? We're mistreating each other every motherfucking day, and it starts from the family home mistreatment, and the homie brought up that point too. Of kids lashing out. Bottled up emotions, you know what I mean? The least path of resistance, you know what I mean? Which they will take, you know what I mean? We all take, right? And so, before we focus on how, and I get it, bro, but I say before we focus on how they're treating us, how are we treating each other? And the way we're treating each other is we're at war with each other. We don't like each other, bro. You know what I mean? But we come together for these functions, bro, to raise hell, and as we should, right? But I guess we can really break it down to the micro instead of the macro. You know what I mean? We got to fix within ourselves, and also too. You said something about how the Brown Berets did it. We've had a lot of Brown Berets on here. I've had the founder, Dr. David Sanchez, on this podcast in the beginning years of Hoodstocks. And sometimes when you are all dressed the same, then it puts a bigger target on your back, you know what I mean? And then this is how indictments come and stuff like that, you know what I mean? They're gonna get you in a full group. I think individually, we need to stand up, bro, with a fucking educated voice. And have the educated voice, you have to get an education, bro. You know what I mean? So first and foremost, we need to work within our community, within ourselves, relations, education, so on and so forth, obtaining businesses. You know what I mean? When gentrification came, bro, everybody was pissed off about the no rent control, but getting evicted, getting their house taken, their business taken from them, bro. But what they didn't do is they didn't plant their roots deep enough to own the building instead of renting the building. So we need to work on our entrepreneurship, you know what I mean? Our owning the buildings instead of renting the shit. I mean, and so on and so forth. The list is deep. So I think internally we need to work within our communities, individual communities, you know what I mean? Because there's all these communities that can use some work, including my community, my household.
Oh, Simon, and look, exactly what you're saying right now, this is how we make a difference because instead of just complaining, we express ideas, opinions, and that way eventually we can get to a conclusion to where this is how we can move. I totally get that. I totally get that Green Beret thing.
Well, my thing, the Brown Beret, and my thing is too is all right. So if this is what's happening, we can't stop it, bro. We cannot stop it. It doesn't matter how many people get in front of these ICE officers. It doesn't matter how many of these cats catch a Fed case by striking an ICE officer. They call it. There's a terminology in regards to impeding their arrest or something like that, right? And so we got to just sit back. We got to make noise. Respectfully, you You know what I mean? But we need to, okay, if these individuals are getting deported, well, how can we come together and support these people that are now getting deported? You know what I mean? Get some money together to take care of them, right? You know what I mean? On the other side of the fence. And then how do we make Mexico great again, right? Fucking Trump's fucking shit, right? And I hate to use that, but how can we make that an inhabitable place to live, a desirable place to live, opposed to just feeling like, fuck, I gotta get away from this craziness. You know what I mean? I gotta come over here, bro. And there was a dude that made a point that I've had on. And he was actually a far right dude, bro. And he said it doesn't matter how far they make the border, the people will always be trying to get away from Mexico, bro. And so the shit is so deep, bro. It's so deep than the surface of just a fucking ice sign. You know what I mean? But what I want to do is I want to hand it over to Francisco because I see him making notes right here. Thank you for calling, brother. You know what I mean? Have a great day, dog. And I hope we doing justice right here with this conversation. Let's bring it to Francisco.
Yeah, you're good. I like this conversation. I think the last caller had a lot of good points, and I definitely thought you really built off that really well. We definitely need to work internally to build a legacy because we don't have one. It's and I think I've talked to you about this.
Bro, we don't have a Martin Luther King Jr.
We need a legacy, right?
Yeah.
We need something intangible, right? Because right now we're all working from the bottom on up, right?
To this day, 2025.
Exactly.
Why?
It's pushing us down, dividing us. Right now,
who's rising up to speak for the masses? Who's taking the lead, bro?
We need more than one person. We need many.
Is it you?
Oh man, I don't know if it's me, but definitely I wouldn't mind speaking up. I wouldn't mind taking a stand either. But I would tell you this, and it is something that everybody was sort of talking about. One thing for sure is we can't be divided. Once we're divided, they won already. Right. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't like what you have to say. I don't like what he has to say. It's like, who cares? We need to stick together. We need to figure this out.
But isn't that the cultural way in regards to Mexicanos being divided?
It depends on how
tribal? Isn't it tribal, bro?
It depends on how you look at that. Right. And the reason why I say that. Right. And everybody had different experiences. Right.
Yes.
I can only speak on mine. Right. I'm going to speak on mine specifically with Mexico. Every time I have gone there, and I've gone there recently, we collaborated with UC Berkeley, UC Irvine, UCLA, University of Mexico City, lawyers from Mexico City, and we had this conveying where it was talking about deportation, higher education, and incarceration. How can we support these individuals who are being deported, continue their education, or receive them when they come over? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is, when I was there for, the week or so I was there, and then I even went there for my honeymoon for 30 days.
Nice.
I've never once felt oppressed. I never once felt I was looked down on. I never was steered away. If anything, I was welcomed. And I'm not even talking about the touristy areas. I'm talking about outside the touristy areas. I felt like I was more embraced. I felt like I didn't have to look over my shoulder.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I hit that LAX and I came back, all those things came immediately back to me where I have to look around. I have to make sure me and my wife are okay. I have to make sure all these things, right?
Would you say that because you have a non-threatening presence?
Maybe.
Because like you said, everybody has their own experience.
You're right. Yeah. Everybody definitely has their own experiences. There was something else I wanted to bring up. Have you ever heard of a ripple effect? So I'm going to bring up, so have you guys heard of Criminal Gangs Anonymous?
No.
So Criminal Gangs Anonymous is very similar to like an AA or an NA, but it focuses on more on criminality being so addicting that you continue to go back to it, right?
It's a drug.
Exactly. So one of the things, I was a facilitator in prison for CGA in Ironwood, and one of the things they talked about was a ripple effect. And they had done studies in a community. Say there's rival gangs, and there's been peace for a couple years, whatever. And somebody shoots a rival gang member in broad daylight in front of hundreds of people. And what that ripple effect does is it creates trauma to everybody who witnessed it, creates trauma in the community. The rival gang wants to get back the other guys, creating aggression, right? And whoever this person was related to, those individuals are starting to feel a certain way about this gang, right? So it just creates this destruction
of fear,
right? And I believe the study said it can last, just that one murder can last a decade of like a ripple effect. And I was just like, wow, that's right. And what it causes is it's something called a generational curse. Where like generation after generation, because of this murder, there's another murder, then there's another murder, then there's another murder, and it just spins out of control. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, if they know that as a fact and that those things are occurring in certain communities, these ripple effects because of these violent crimes and how they can last decades. And in prison, they want us to acknowledge that, especially when you go to parole board. They want you to acknowledge that this ripple effect, whatever you caused, is going to last decades. They're like, and people agree to, yeah, whatever. Now, think about the hundreds of years of slavery, racialized slavery, thinking about hundreds of years of lynching, hundreds of years of kidnapping, rape, murder. How long does that ripple effect last? Right? Think about 1965. Is that when civil rights was established, where blacks were given more rights, Black Americans, right? And I believe 1965 is when the Jim Crow law completely ended. 1965. My dad was born in 1951. Meaning he's endured those times. Meaning I endured those times through him.
Ripple effect.
So what the point I'm trying to make is, and it's something that you said, we need to be kind to each other because of these things, right? We need to come more together. We need speakers, right? We need people in the front line. And I like what you said too. We need that legacy because we don't have one yet.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
We did free Alex.
We had Alex, but Alex did his thing, but he was just so far left that he got lost. Because what Alex was doing, we loved what he did within the community, right? We loved his aggression. We loved the pit bull of Alex enamorado. You know what I mean? Love the dude, man. But where he fucked up at is a couple places. Being too far left when Chicanos are kind of conservative, bro. You know what I mean? And also too, you gotta be careful, bro, on how hard you rock the boat in certain areas. You can be bringing, like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you're gonna stand up for the street vendors, you can do that. But once you start going in front of
police officers' houses, thank you, Casey. Took the words right out of my mouth. Now you're bringing hell to your doorstep, bro. And I know that for a fact, bro. As my legacy, the past, my past. When I would get arrested, bro, you know what I would do, bro? I would clown the rookies, bro. I clown the rookies. And I'd have all the OG cops laughing. You know what I mean? Because they were like, man, fuck that rookie. I mean, he deserved to get that smoke because we do the same thing. So kind of weird, I became one of them in a sense because that's what fraternities do, right? You know, they clown the apprentice, the rookie, you know what I mean? But so I could have got a lot of cases put on me, bro. And I have stories that I've shared before where they pressed me and they took me out of East Max one time, detective, and he's like, hey, bro, see this stack of files right here? These are all robberies, bro. Like, you can put that on you right now, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, bro, we good, you know what I mean? Because my grandma called one time and because they beat my ass, bro, you know what I mean? I've had my ass beat several times by police departments, bro. Just handcuffed and just getting stomped out, bro, you know what I mean? Couldn't walk in the county jail for months, you know what I mean? Fuck my back up. I'm dealing with back problems to this day, you know what I mean? The ripple effect, right? But anyways, I've always been like, not fuck the police when they arrest me. Because I understand, brother, that as a gang member, we are playing a game, you know? We are in the assimilation of gangbanging, and and it's us against the cops, it's us against the enemies. You know what I mean? You treat the enemies a certain time, and then you have the choice of treating the police that are coming for you to,
stop the crime, to treat them a certain way. And not once ever would I was like, man, fuck the police, trying to spit on them. Never, bro. Because I understood the detriment of doing that, you know, that it can really cause a lot of heartache and time on me and
That's an assault.
on me and my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was always like, you know, I did my thing. I'm a jokester, bro. I like to clown, dog. You know what I mean? I clown the rookies. You know, I'd make a joke out of it. You know what I mean? Like while I'm getting arrested, I'm making a joke out of me getting arrested, even though it was a serious business. But it to me, it was like, all right, this. Until the next episode, you know what I mean? This chapter is done with because I have handcuffs and now I have a case. And this is going in prison 6 times in prison. You know what I mean? So I was the dude that did it like that, bro. I didn't get the long stretch. I'm a street dude, bro. I go in and out of prison. I've been on the 4 yards, gang module, all that shit, bro. You know what I mean? But I was always, by the grace of God, thank you so much. You know what I mean? Maybe the Jeremy Colos, right? Back to that. I was very blessed to see freedom again, you know, do a couple years, do 5 years, you know, do pro violation, always maxed out my shit, all my numbers, bro, maxed them out on pro violations, you know what I mean? So that adds up to prison, going into prison, you know? But anyways.
I think Alex would have been perfect for this time. It would have been great because the people that swung right would have swung still left because they don't want to see their family members getting deported, and then seeing all the videos of straight street vendors who are working literally food grilling on there just gone, like they just got zapped into thin air. And I think his tactics would, yeah, of course they're dangerous, but I mean,
hey,
that's what this country's based on.
Danger, taking risk. Right? And he took the ultimate risk. He took the ultimate sacrifice for the street vendors. And now he is...
sadly see them getting deported.
Is he getting deported?
No, the street vendors getting deported.
Yeah.
By a band of fucking criminal, government fucking criminal enterprise, basically.
Doing what the fuck they want because it got free range from the director in chief, right?
So they
have no rules in a sense.
They definitely took Alex at a great time.
Let me say this, bro.
Tell you that.
There was a young dude, I think he was 19 years old, and he punched a fucking an ICE agent. Well, he got released
at Home
bro.
Depot. Was it that one?
Something like that.
Edgar looking one.
Yeah, he punched the dude, and they said that they released him. But he necessarily didn't get, and I'm thinking out loud while I'm saying this, and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I'm saying. But I'm bringing up this to say that they said he got released, but he necessarily didn't get released. He got bailed out, bro. And so there's still a case pending. I mean, I don't know, bro. It's just we are in some really, really like, you know, crazy times, trying times, you know, within our Los Angeles, within our California communities, you know, and we got to wake up, we got to grow up, and we got to figure this shit out real quick, you know. And I think it starts first with education, dog. And I speak on education because I am an uneducated motherfucker for so many goddamn years. I got my GED at 35 years old and, you know, penitentiary. I mean, I went to the IBW Local 11 5 years of apprenticeship, which taught me how to do math. And if you learn how to do math, then you look at life differently, bro, because you're calculated and you can apply the math, trigonometry, algebra, so the formulas that I had to figure out to do, and I had to really wing in real time to pass the apprenticeship. And it made me think differently, bro. Math made me think differently, you know? And I thought I was already a little bit of calculated within my street knowledge, you know? But when I got educated, and I would consider that apprenticeship a higher education in a sense, you know?
Yeah,
5 years, bro. A state certified, I think it's equivalent to a AA or something like that, you know? You know, it really changed my thought process. It helped me move differently. So I really, really believe in education. You know, education is so fucking unbelievable. And you, bro, come on, preaching to the choir right here, bro. When in your term did you like wake up in a sense? I mean, was it from the gate you started getting educated?
I wish it was from the gate. Since I went in young, as most young individuals that go in there, you sort of fall into everything. And then during that time too, like from 2002 to 2010, a lot of prisons specifically, I could speak on like Tehachapi, 4B, 4A. Well, 4B is the SHU, 4A mainline. They didn't really have a lot of programs for education. Maybe the GED program. When I opened up Kern Valley in 2005, same thing, didn't really have a lot of programs. They opened up a GED maybe like the last 2 years I was there. I went back to Tehachapi, 4B, and then from there I went to High Desert. High Desert, oh my God, that place was very horrifying. We were always on lockdown. There was always somebody. It was a mess. It was a giant mess. And once programs started to roll, I got my GED there and a high school diploma. And at first it was just to get out the cell, right? Because you're always in the cell, right? You're just like tired of being stuck in your head, right? Because like you're fighting yourself, basically, right? And like you're replaying moments in your head, like, oh, I should have called her, or I should have did this, or like you think of all these frivolous things, right? Or you'll see things on TV, right? Like you'll see kids going to school, and you're thinking to yourself, like, man, what if I went to college? How would I even get there, right? And then you'll see like somebody in a movie, like they graduate, they get a good job, and then they have a nice car and a family. I'm like, damn, I'm never gonna have that, right? So when they opened up the GED and high school diploma, I definitely wanted to get out the cell to get out of my head. And it's like kind of like what you were saying, like you're learning something. It starts to make the wheels turn in your head.
Yeah.
And when the wheels start to turn in your head, in my mind, I was just like, I want more of this. There's something happening here that I don't want it to stop. Eventually, they came out with those SB 260, SB 261 laws for the youth offenders. And I had I don't know what you would call it, but it was almost like a hearing, but it wasn't a hearing. And I dropped points substantially from High Desert, and I went to Ironwood. In Ironwood, they had like a plethora of programs. There were so many programs. It was in 2016 to 2019 on CR. There was just so many programs, vocational trainings, college, every self-help group you can think of. And in my mind, I was like, I want to do everything. And when I did, I was just like, whoa. It really challenged me to challenge things that I thought was normal, right? Like looking at the prison yard, like ready for this, ready for that. And I'm just like, the fuck? Like, you know, it started not to make sense to me, right? For me, it was like prison's for the birds, right? I see these yard birds in the middle of the yard who come when people feed them. I was like, prison's for them. Prison's not for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that really pushed me to continue my educational journey. Even when I paroled, I was just like, because coming out here, how can I say this? I knew how to manage myself in prison. Like my last couple of years, I knew how to stay out of trouble, right? You eventually learn, you know, after, you know, being young and dumb. And I knew how to navigate it without getting upset over dumb things. But out here was different. I didn't really understand like relationships with a woman. I didn't know how to drive a car. Like I had to learn all these aspects that everybody else had learned at the proper ages, right? And it gave me so much anxiety. But when I kept on with my education, it was therapeutic for me. And I wanted more. And I knew in the process of me gaining more, I was able to help more. And you ever heard that old saying, like, the only way I'm going to help you if I help myself first, and then I can come back and then help you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that. And that pushes me every day to continue to learn. So, yeah.
Shout out to Francisco, man. Let's get this last phone call right here, and then we're in this podcast. Hold on real quick. Where we at? We're going to do one more phone call, and then we're going to wrap this up right here, man. Appreciate everybody that's tapped in. Appreciate everyone that's, took the time out of their evening to hang out with us and, just catch this vibration right here. I hope it was informational. I hope it helped the community, man. I mean, I was talking to Casey and someone else, you know, we can be having rappers right here and we can be doing this and that, you know what I mean? But I want We got to plant these seeds that's going to make us stronger, not fucking dumber. Let's do this right here.
Or that perpetuate the violence against their communities.
Yeah. You're on Hoodstocks. Talk to us.
Hey, what's going on, Lux?
What's up, dog? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Manuel. Hey, bro. I got a quick question. You talk a lot about like the woke agenda and all that. What does that mean?
I'd say the wokeness was just an extreme left, like a liberal thing of them implementing new things in society, new ideas, new things that we should conform to. You know, I think that's what woke is, in a sense. And I got sucked into the woke shit for a minute when I used to have that fool Marvelous on back in the day, and it made me feel like that I was out the loop, you know. And so at one point I wanted to be woke, bro, because I felt like I was not informed. But sometimes information is not good information, and I feel like a lot of the woke agenda is not good information. And this is just my personal opinion on the matter, on the subject, bro.
I get you. Hey, check it out. And it's nothing against you, brother, but like when you guys voted for Trump, did you not measure into the equation that you were voting for somebody that was hanging out with pedophiles, with people that have raped people? He himself has a case for rape. He might potentially be a pedophile himself. Did that not come into the equation for you, him hanging out with?
So you said the key word, bro. You said the key word, he might. Keywords, he might, bro. He might. And so we don't the way we move in the streets, bro, is we don't move on something until there's paperwork, bro. And you can apply that to this right here.
My last point is this. There was when you had the Misa on your podcast, when you had the Misa, you had a father calling with his 8-year-old girl. You guys were on the phone with an 8-year-old girl, bro, having a sexual ass conversation.
Wait, who was that? When I had who on the podcast?
When you had the Misa,
because you just hit me with something and I told you about that, so now you're gonna move on to the next hit on me, bro. So go ahead, bro. So we had an 8-year-old girl, bro. What's your name and where you calling from, bro? What's your name and where you calling from? Identify yourself.
My name is Manuel, homie.
Where you from, bro?
A father called. I'm from LA. A father called in with his 8-year-old daughter, bro, and you guys were having a sexual ass conversation, bro.
Okay, so if a father calls in with an 8-year-old girl and we were having these conversations.
You hang up, bro. You hang up. You don't start talking.
Well, no. Don't tell me, bro. Check it out, bro. Check it out, bro. Check it out. You don't tell me what the fuck to do, dog. First of all, and I'm trying to think about what the fuck you're talking about, if it's true or not, bro. You know what I mean? Because I just stunt your fucking woke shit, and now you're trying to hit me with something else. So obviously you're coming in to try to attack me, bro. You know what I mean? And you can suck a motherfucking dick, bro. And I hope you ain't got your daughter listening to this, dog. Bye. Last phone call. You're on Hoodstocks. Talk to me. Okay. No phone. No. Nobody right there. So obviously this dude tried to call in and, 8-year-old girl with his father calling me. Check it out, bro. If you're on Hoodstocks, bro, don't call in with your kids, homie, first of all, because you know what this platform does. We kind of like a spinoff of Howard Stern sometimes, bro. We talk a lot of shit and we have a good time, bro, and we drinking and we smoking, and sometimes the conversations get wild, homie. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is, bro.
But that was, if anything, that was never any intention.
Yeah, absolutely
for that,
not,
obviously.
Bro. Absolutely
like,
not.
What the fuck? Dude's taking it super out of context. Like, we're like,
fuck that dude. That dude's a little bitch, bro. That's a woke bitch right there, bro. That's the definition of what woke is right there. That dude right there, trying to attack me on some bullshit, bro. Let's talk about the good things we've done within this community, homie. You know what I mean? Why don't you call in within the good things that Hoodstocks has done with this community, homie? Now you're trying to nitpick.
Well, that's not a bad thing. That's a manipulative way of saying that something happened in a situation that is taken out of context.
Yeah, 100%.
Taken out of context.
Taken out of context, 100%, bro.
It's not Lucky is directly talking to a person of youth and sharing these ideas with them. Like, what the fuck?
And the best thing you can do with me on that, bro, is make a clip of it, bro. Make a clip, bro.
Yeah.
Make a clip and put it on the internet, bro. I dare you, bro. Make a clip and put it on the internet. Lucky is weird, but not that type of weird. Thank you, Fitness Lokester. And that's my number one enemy on this right here. Lucky is weird, but not that type of weird. Hell no, I'm not a father with kids, bro. Daughters, too, at the house. My house is full of women, bro. I'm the only dude in my household, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Minus the dogs in the backyard, you know what I mean? Don't ever try to put that jacket on me, you stupid motherfucker. I'll slap the dog shit out of you, homie. You know what I mean? You dumb motherfucker, bro. And people ask me, hey, Lux, why did you have a fucking Hoodstocks flag at the protest? For bitches like that fool right there to holler at me, bro. If you had a problem with me, bro. I'm right here with a big-ass Hoodstocks flag, homie. You know what I mean? You ain't nobody ducking this fade right here, homie. Come and holler at me with anything you got to say, dog. And if you came at me with anywhere where I'm at with that Hoodstocks flag, letting you know Lucky is right here, bro. You know what I mean? That's telling you right there, homie, that, hey, we you know what I mean? Nobody's hiding from nothing, bro. And you can come and tell me directly about any disgruntle or any things that you might have, and we can have a cool conversation, or we can fucking knuckle the fuck up, dog. You know what I mean? And I don't promote violence, bro, but with that dude trying to put a jacket like that on me, get the fuck out of here, bro. I'll slap the dog shit out of you for some shit like that. Anyways, with that said, I'm sorry for changing the energy, Francisco, but this is Hoodstocks, and we got idiots like that call in sometimes. Out of all the phone calls, sorry, dogs, had a cough drop. Out of all the phone calls, he's the only idiot that calls in with some shit like that. But, you know, we take those phone calls too, bro. You know what I mean? Why? Because, you know, we will address it in real time. And that's the way how I'll address that, dog. You know what I mean? But with that said, brother, hope you had a good time, man.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you allowing me to be in this space, and it's a privilege. And if I were to leave with anything, once again, I would say let's not be divided at these times. Let's definitely come together and see what we can do to make a difference. Let's build on a legacy. Let's build a legacy because we all deserve one. Don't let them continue to push you down, and let's rise up. And this is our time as well. It's not just specific people. It's all the people. So yeah.
Absolutely, dog. And I think this has been a very, very impactful podcast. I think this is truth hurts. Why so mad? Come on, bro. Anybody call you with that shit, dog? You gonna be mad too, dog. Get the fuck out of here, little dramatic, bro. You one of them fools too, right here. Anytime I see you pop up, bro, you got some negative shit to say. You ain't been in the chat the whole motherfucking time, and you're gonna say that. Nah, bro. The truth doesn't hurt. I'm just gonna address it the way I know how to address it, bro. You gonna attack me with some bullshit like that, bro? You get that smoke too, stupid. Anyways, with that said, everybody give it Francisco, man. And we'll be back tomorrow night with snaps, and we got a really good advocate on domestic violence. I mean, she was stabbed in the stomach, 7 months pregnant, man. Had an emergency C-section. I mean, this girl has been through the ringer, and we are back to back every single night this week, dog. For you motherfuckers, for the Goonies, not these lames right here, bro. They want to be on some hater ass, weak ass shit, bro. You know what I mean? Pull up to the spots where I'll be at. I'll be outside, bro. Holler at me in person, and we can fucking resolve that real quick. But with that said, thank you, Francisco.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, doggy. And we are out of here. Sheesh.